9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Manchester
1,
United have
0.
reached the promised land.
Well, good morning, everybody. Sunday morning. I think this is the first time we've ever gone live on Sunday morning. It's the January transfer window. Things are developing rapidly. And Wout Weghorst, I hope I've got that right. You can let me know in the comments. I'm pretty sure I have. I've been trying to do my research. I've been listening to everyone in the comments about how to pronounce his name. But Wout Weghorst, it's not a name that I suppose anybody expected us to be having a conversation about. But here we are. It's the January transfer window where Manchester United have no money. It's a January transfer window where all of us would have loved us to sign Cody Gakpo, but instead he went to Liverpool because they were willing to pay the money up front for 2 PSV that they wanted. Now, João Felix is another name that's been on the list. Not exactly a striker, but certainly a very exciting, attacking, talented player who could come in and do a job. But Wout Weghorst is the conversation that we're having this morning after reports broke yesterday from Foot Mercato, and they were followed up quickly by Fabrizio Romano, by Laurie Whitwell at The Athletic, by Luke Edwards in The Telegraph, and especially with Wout Weghorst scoring for Besiktas yesterday and waving goodbye, literally saying bye-bye in his celebration. But look, good morning to all of you in the comments. You let me know what you think about this Weghorst deal, because I know this is going to be a conversation that splits opinion. But Man United in the January transfer window, it is a conversation with splits opinion. And it's something I said in the video yesterday. It doesn't really matter who we get in January. It's going to be a compromise. It's going to be a temporary, short-term solution to Manchester United's issues up front. I'll run through the latest quotes from Ten Hag on Martial, where he kind of explains that in a bit more detail in the embargoed second part of his press conference ahead of the Charlton game. But let's talk about Weghorst here this morning. Now, for anybody who hasn't watched my video yesterday, well, you can after, but I'll try and summarize it for you here and explain how the story has developed. And then we'll have a debate in the comments. So this story broke yesterday it was Santi Uwana. Uwana? Call him Santi. Saying that Manchester United were in negotiations over Wout Weghorst. And this was followed up by this celebration. Well, it wasn't followed up by, but it happened at the exact same time. The story broke. So this is Weghorst scoring for Besiktas yesterday, going to the fans, waving, well, just enjoying it. And this part here, literally, bye-bye, bye-bye. He quite literally says, bye-bye. As I said in the video yesterday, you don't need to be a body language expert to understand what you said there. So that really took the story, kind of accelerated it quite a bit. Fabrizio Romano then waded in and basically added absolutely nothing to the situation, saying the thing that Santi Uwana had said about an hour before. And everybody started talking. Weghorst, by the way, that got, honestly, I'm not just saying, I swear my life, I had a conversation about this goal with my mate at the weekend. It was one of my favorite goals at the World Cup. The audacity of Holland to do that in the last second against Argentina in that game and to pull it off. I was like, hell yeah. It was one of my favorite goals at the World Cup. He scored 2 in that game, of course, against Argentina. I think he featured in every game for Holland off the bench. But he's a completely different type of player to what we've been linked with really so far. 6'6". The dude is huge. And as Jason says down there, it's one thing that he absolutely does have is Weghorst would bring something entirely different to what Manchester United have at this moment in time. And we've had debates, over these last couple of weeks, haven't we? Around what would be the ideal signing, around what Ten Hag wants. And I've said multiple times that I feel that Ten Hag isn't going for I don't think that Ten Hag is going for a traditional number 9, but I think he's going for something that adds that dynamism. I've always compared it to the Liverpool front three when it was at its peak with Mane, Salah and Firmino. But Weghorst here is completely and utterly the opposite. It goes to show sometimes I know absolutely fuck all. Sometimes I know what I'm talking about, but not all the time. He does offer something completely different. And we'll have a little conversation from a tactical perspective a little bit later in the show. And I might even do a video later today, but I also might just wait for this story to develop a little bit further before I actually do a scouting report. But let's run through the article from The Athletic, because this is where it gets interesting and sort of the journalist that we consider reliable. I'm going to run through this from Laurie Whitwell on The Athletic. But make sure you please do drop a like on these videos. I think there's going to be a new audience here that doesn't really join into United People's TV, because I don't normally go live on Sunday morning. Ogerbosch just saying Dutch centre forward always works for Man United. Was it always? I suppose it works with Robin van Persie and Ruud van Nistelrooy. Craig, he does. I mean, he's crouchy in his size. That's absolutely true. Mike, you're saying, why not take Abubakar? Now, the Athletic have said that we are not in for Abubakar. And I've always found the Abubakar situation strange. But as I've reiterated a couple of times there, and I will say probably a couple more times during this show, Weghorst, Memphis, Abubakar, Choupo-Moting, João Felix, just all the names that we've been linked with in the January transfer window, Cody Gakpo aside, you're looking at it and saying, I mean, that's not part of a long-term strategy. And this is quite literally not part of a long-term strategy. Weghorst, what we're looking at here is we are in a shit situation between now and the summer. We've got a set of owners who want to sell the club, who don't have any money to buy. They can't even put it on a loan deal. Sorry, they can't even put it on the credit card because they spent all that money on the credit card. We are a skint club in desperate need of a short-term deal until the end of the season. And that's where Wout Weghorst has come up as an option. Let's run through the article here from The Athletic. It said, look, it may not be a big name, but Manchester United may well end up with a big man as their new striker this month. And that was The Athletic corroborating the reports from Santiago that Manchester United were in for him. And now let's find out the details of it here. The deal is a complicated one because Weghorst is currently on loan at Besiktas, who have a 10 million euro option to buy him in that, well, as a clause, option to buy a clause for the striker. Weghorst himself is pushing for the move to United and the chance to return to England in the Premier League, feeling he has unfinished business. His apparent goodbye celebration to Besiktas fans following his goal against Kasimpasa only fueled the feeling he is ready to go elsewhere. And look, this is what we've just mentioned there and had a discussion about. Weghorst is one of a number of names being considered, with several strikers being pursued, including Memphis Depay, but Bayern Munich's Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting and Vincent Abubakar are not being pursued. So apparently, we've never been in for Choupo-Moting and we've never been in for Abubakar. Right. That's a little bit of information there from The Athletic. Weghorst was not discussed by United in the summer when they were scouring the striker market. Geez, remember that? Marko Arnautovic. Geez, that was a stain. You remember that? That went from Man United not being linked to Arnautovic to Man United fans making it abundantly clear how disgusted we all were with the idea of it, to Man United pulling out of any interest in Arnautovic, all within the space of like 36 hours. Weird one. Very, very strange one. But yeah, a little bit more information on it here. Erik ten Hag is on board with the potential deal and is close to Van Gaal, who of course managed Weghorst during the World Cup. Stylistically different to anything the club currently has, and at 6'6", offers an alternative method of playing should there be a need to go more direct. And that's what a lot of people will say in the comments. So what I'm going to do now is, before we move on to, I'm going to read through the Telegraph's article and the latest from Turkey itself with quotes from Besiktas' sporting director on the potential deal. I'm going to head down to the comments and see what you're saying, because I want to put a poll up here quickly. I think this will be an interesting poll. If you had to choose here between two players, I'm only going to put two players in this. You can see what it comes up. Memphis Depay or Wout Weghorst. That's the poll I'm going to put up there. And I want you to let me know, because they're two completely different players. One that you might think is a better player. Some might be saying that Memphis is a better player than Wout Weghorst, and probably most people would agree with you. But in terms of who would have an impact at United in the second half of the season, who do you think? I'll be interested to know what the answers to that. Now, I'm going to go down here. Miss Teacup. Dutch girl here. The G in Weghorst should be pronounced as CH. So it's Weghorst. Wout Weghorst? I'm trying. I'm trying my hardest. It's a really hard name, that one. Right, let me see what you're saying down here in the comments. Right, what do you think about asking Messi for his shirt? Mate, I'd ask for Messi for his shirt. Stephen, this is one thing that's absolutely true, right? Mate, Eric Ten Hag could tell me, he goes, look, right, I've looked at the options, and Emil Heskey coming out of retirement is the best option for United. I'd be like, I got him. I trust you. I do trust Eric Ten Hag, and he's not really missed so far. He really hasn't. Sam, you're saying, what are the chances of this deal happening? Mate, I'll be honest, it very, very high. This is the sort of thing that really has accelerated quickly in this last 20, well, what is it? 16 hours since it happened? And I'll bring you the latest from Turkey, but Weghorst wants to move. United need a, he's 30. He's going to be on a short-term deal. It's not a deal, right, that any United fan should be getting offended by. And I suppose you could say the same thing about any player. Maybe I was going overboard with the Choupo-Moting or the Abubakar. United are just in a situation where we need a safety net. Whoever that safety net is, and Weghorst seemingly has accelerated to become that guy. And of course, the links with Holland. I believe that Ten Hag and Weghorst grew up in the same area. Is it around 20? I think they do. I think they're from the same area. Let me see what you're saying down here in the comments. Davey, you're saying between Memphis and Weghorst, I would pick him. At least he's an out-and-out striker. MUFCJ, you're talking about the headers he'll score will make a difference. Whatever suits the system, says Chris. And I think that's an interesting thing to have a conversation about with Weghorst as well, is he's a bit of a pressing striker. You would expect a 6'6" dude to not be mobile that much, but I'll run through a little bit of stats, some excellent pizza charts made by The Athletic, looking at his time at Burnley and his time at Besiktas and how he sort of played different in two different systems. I can understand the logic. I'm not saying that I'm buzzing and I'm over the moon for it, because I can't lie and say I am. But United needs someone in January. It's not a case of we need another striking option alongside Anthony Martial. Lou, nice to see you there, rejoining as a member. And Andy, you're saying, why would Besiktas let him go? It's a financial thing. If Burnley want to, if Burnley are going to get that money and ask for it, well, suits Burnley, right? They're in the Championship. They're going to come up. They had to let Weghorst go because Weghorst, Wout. Really, really hard name. Normally, you have one half of the name, which is easier to pronounce than the other, but the first name and the surname are both really hard. Let me see what you're saying about this poll, right, straight away. So we've had how many votes? We've had 500 votes straight away. By the way, 300 of you, drop a like on the video. 87% of you are saying Weghorst. Wow. 87%. I thought it was going to be closer than that. I'll be honest. I thought there was going to be a little bit of a majority for him, but 87%. Wow. That is an overwhelming majority of you going down there and saying that Memphis isn't the guy. And I don't think Memphis is the guy. And I know that part of me there is because I'm stung about his previous at United. But I just don't think that Memphis comes and moves the needle that much. I think Memphis would just be very much another Anthony Martial. Gungshi is always down there. Nice to see you there this morning. I see everyone here this morning. Sunday's a bit different, right? We don't normally go live on Sundays. But Gungshi, you just gifted 5 memberships down there. Who are the lucky 5? There's going to be new faces here. So if you are a new face, make sure you subscribe to United People TV. It's a great community, if I do say so myself. Yusuf, Hugh, I'm not going to say your full name, Gavin, Dorian, and Peter, you're the lucky 5 there. And look at that. Is that Lou? Yeah, man. Thank you very much, Lou. You've just donated 10 as well. Let me read these out. Where are they? We've got Fidel. We've got Steve, Camille. We've got Kaustub. We've got Douthie, Shane, Shubad, James, and Derek and Liam. Good morning to all of you. And there was a super chat there. Let me read this super chat out. I don't like missing super chats. I apologize. Sometimes I do. Sometimes the comments are a bit crazy. Chicano, you're saying Ten Hag's Ajax teams from the last full 3 seasons, excluding the shortened COVID season, he used Dusan Tadic and Sebastian Haller as a striker. He is searching for a striker like one of these two. And Chicano, it's an excellent comment there. And I think the Sebastian Haller point is really an interesting one, because that team, if if you're looking at Ten Hag's Ajax, and they had two main teams. They had that team in 2019 that went to the Champions League semi-final, and the second version of it, which included Sebastian Haller, which wasn't really, I mean, it's complete segue, not segue, a completely different style, I suppose, or style of player, certainly, than he had in the first team. And it worked. Ajax had a little bit of something different there with Sebastian Haller. And that's where, of course, Weghorst would absolutely fit the bill. Now, this is what the Telegraph are saying on the situation. Man United are indeed exploring the idea of bringing him in on loan. Man United are considering a move for him. Ten Hag wants to bring in a forward to bolster his squad. And it doesn't really say too much there. But the Telegraph have confirmed it. The Athletic have confirmed it. Fabrizio Romano's confirmed it. Now, let's get the latest coming out of Turkey, because I think this is the interesting part. Of course, he's a Besiktas player. Currently, you think they're going to be closest to the news. Nick, you're saying he is a mentality monster. He's saying always deemed not good enough, even at a lower level. Yet he is now a prime example here in the Netherlands to show what you can achieve with the right mentality and work ethic. Now, that's a comment I like. And I'll be honest, I've done a bit of reading into it. And it's certainly something that a lot of people suggest. In fact, if you go to over here in the Athletic article, I may have missed this part here. Go down here, look. Weghorst is seen as a quiet and relaxed character off the pitch, but on it, he is ultra competitive and is not scared to share his thoughts with teammates if he feels they're not pulling their weight. He has a desire to improve, studying his game closely. During his early weeks at Burnley, he was known to send messages late into the night to teammates about how they could improve their partnerships. There is a passion, determination, and intensity to his play illustrated by his pressing numbers. And I'll run through those pressing numbers in a bit. But kind of what Nick is suggesting there, he's somebody who, let's be completely honest, the profile of a player is just as important as the qualities of a player moving forward for Manchester United. We could go out and sign the most talented player in the world, but if it's going to be somebody who jars with what United are trying to do, it won't work. Ronaldo, incredibly talented individual, mentality was completely in the wrong place. Ended up dragging the team down instead of helping us. He's been shipped off. And you might say, "Oh man, this is such a downgrade, Ronaldo to Weghorst." But if it's the right mentality and it comes in and positively affects the team in that way, then it can take United to a place where we weren't before. And Zevro, again, you can be pissed off that United are here in January trying to sign Wout Weghorst on loan, and you'd be completely right to do it. We shouldn't be doing that. This is United, right? And it is a consequence of the Glazers being our owners. But in a short-term situation, what's the more important thing? Getting the most talented player in the world, or getting a player who has the right attitude and application and can offer something different? Of course, I'm now going to have I'm going to have red-tinted specs on here. And I'm probably going to see the positives of anything to do with Weghorst. I can't deny that there are negatives to it. Just as there are negatives to every single player that we're looking at in January. But we're in the bargain bucket, man. Told you, we've forgotten our kit for PE. We're looking in the bucket in the back. Soggy, wet socks. That's what we're looking at. A little bit harsh. Soggy, wet socks. I did just say. Simon, of course, let the Glazers going. But this should be the last time that we have these sorts of conversations in a transfer window. United won't be looking in the bucket anymore, the bargain bucket. We'll be spending big because we'll have big owners. Well, we should be anyway. Now, let's run through the latest coming out from Turkey. This is covered by Sport Witness, and this is from Fanatic, which is one of the biggest sport outlets in Turkey. This is what his agent said. He goes, "Everything is fine. There is no problem. Wout just made a celebration." But this is what the sporting director said, and I thought this was an interesting part here. "I don't understand why Weghorst said goodbye to the fans, why he made such a move. He is our football player right now, and our contract expires at the end of the season. If Manchester United or any other team wants Weghorst, they will meet with Burnley anyway. Burnley will then contact us and discuss the terms of separation. If we accept, the contract will be terminated. Otherwise, it will go until the end of the season. He can't just go. There will have to be a reward for us to approve the separation. I'll give an example. Burnley told us we made a deal with this team for Weghorst. We give you half of the transfer fee. This may be a different condition. Then we'll sit down and talk. But Besiktas' sporting director there confirming that if he is to leave that club, Besiktas, in January and join Manchester United, they need payment. However much that would be, if they've got a clause to buy Weghorst for 10 million euros at the end of the season, I don't know, maybe they'll last for 2-3. It won't be much. Either way, it's the reason if Atletico Madrid hadn't put such an outrageous fee on João Felix, what was it? 15 million euros as a loan fee for 5 months and 6 million in terms of covering his full wages. So 21 million euros in total. If they hadn't put such an outrageous number on that, we may already have João Felix. And now a lot of you would probably correctly argue here in the comments, we could probably do with Weghorst and Felix. And I think you'd be right. But we're not paying the money that Atletico Madrid are demanding. That's never going to happen. I think, look, obviously we're going to pay his full wages between now and the end of the season. That's what happens in a loan move, right? But in terms of how much we're willing to offer, I think the latest reports we've seen that Man United are willing to offer somewhere in the region of 3 to 4 to 5 million. Yeah, we're not going to pay more than that. And we shouldn't be. Not for a loan deal for 5 months. Atletico Madrid are just trying to recoup some of the money that they overspent on João Felix by forcing that onto United. Let me see if there's any updates. As I said, this is live and developing now. Let me see if there's anything else being said on... Yeah, James. Is it James Ducker from the Telegraph? I think he might have just done an update. Let's have a quick look. As always, you let me know what you think in the comments below. I'll try and answer as many of your questions as I possibly can. No, nothing there. Nothing there at this particular moment in time. But what I want to do now, right, is run through a couple of stats on Weghorst. Look, from a Dutch guy, the G in Weghorst is pronounced as GG. So I've got two different ones here. I've got one being pronounced as CH and one being pronounced as GG. I don't know. I'm just going to call him Wout. All right. I can't get his first name wrong. I think Wout is correct there. People are talking about Harry Kane in the comments there. I think we're going to have to do a video on Harry Kane at some point. All of you are saying that Fabrizio's wading in. Fabrizio didn't offer anything on it yesterday, man. It was a bit of a tap in from him, I have to admit. Let me see if he's come up with any real information here. Well, he's just tweeted the quotes which I've just read to you from Turkey directly. Anyway, doesn't matter. How you pronounce it at the start of the video was correct, Sam. Wout Weghorst. I'm going with Wout. There we go. Just sticking with Wout. Right. We all know what sort of player he is. And there's somebody, Benjamin, down there. Thank you very much for watching the video yesterday, dude. And yeah, I think Fellaini is the fairest comparison that we can sort of understand as United fans. I'm not going to go here and say that he's going to be another Zlatan Ibrahimovic because I don't particularly think he is. But Fellaini was a player who, oh man, the reason everybody got pissed off with Marouane Fellaini is because he ended up starting in midfield for Manchester United every single week. And I mean, he's not a central midfielder. He never was. But when Fellaini was used correctly and brought on in those games where you needed something different for the last 20, 25 minutes, because look, we want to play sexy, beautiful, fluid team build-up football, but there will be games where that simply doesn't work. And that's where someone like Wout comes in and offers something different, right? They've got down here his strength as being anchor play. And if we take a look here at his stats, now, they've written down Wolfsburg, but I do believe that's incorrect. This is from his time at Burnley. And there's a couple of important things that we can take a look at and have a discussion about. Right. In terms of his most impressive part there, let me go here. Let me turn that on. Let's get that off. His link-up play. That's the most impressive part there of his time at Burnley. You can see down here, defensive intensity was quite good as well, 69th percentile. Now, you know how these work. The higher the number, the better that player is compared to other players in that position during that time. So in terms of link-up play, he was in the 95th percentile for anybody else during that time at Burnley. Ball retention, 57th percentile, not too bad. You can see down here in terms of, look, aerial duels, look, he wasn't particularly impacting it from because Burnley were without the ball. This is the point I'm trying to make here, right? When he spent his time at Burnley, Burnley didn't have the ball much, right? They were Burnley. Fleeting opportunities to impact the game going forward. Now, look how that's changed when he's gone to Besiktas. You can see how this chart switches, right? So on the left-hand side, he was good at dropping deep and sort of linking up with the rest of his team, and he was decent enough with ball retention. But in terms of actually impacting the game, he didn't impact it that much. Now, look how that has changed now that he's at Besiktas, right? You can see full well that link-up play is completely gone. But look at the receptions in the opposition box, going from 56th percentile to the 99th percentile. Quite literally the best at doing it. And in terms of disrupting opposition moves as well, they're two things that should probably please a lot of United fans. They're the two things he's been the best at Besiktas. Receiving the ball in the opposition box, actually being a proper number 9, and disrupting opposition moves. It's because he does press. Now, I haven't got the stats to back that up at this particular moment in time, and I'll do that. I might do it in a video later today, but I might just let this Weghorst, Wout, I might just let this story develop a little bit more before I do a scouting report. But I will do a scouting report on him. And I'll be honest, I can understand it. I don't think I could particularly understand Memphis Depay, right? I just don't particularly, from a profile perspective. And I think that's the thing that drives me to a transfer and drives me away from one. It's a profile. I think it's so important. I think Ten Hag has shown it's so important. But yeah, if you're going to look at one stat that I think is quite impressive, it's how much that is switched from this is when he was playing. I know it says Wolfsburg, but it means Burnley. I think that's wrong. In terms of playing in a team that doesn't have the ball to a team that does have the ball a bit more. And this is what he can do. And effectively, right, this is what we need. Because Erik Ten Hag has spoken about this. This is what Ten Hag said about Anthony Martial and relying on him for the rest of the season. He said there is a reason that Anthony Martial has been substituted in his last 7 games. It is because he cannot manage the load. He's not saying that, he might not be able to. He's saying categorically, Martial cannot do it. From a fitness perspective, Anthony Martial doesn't have it in him to play, right? He says there. It's not about us relying on him. His physical load is not at this moment so high that he can play. Oh dear, what's going on here? What have I done there? Jeez, that was bad. Anyway, it's because he cannot manage the load. That's why we're looking blah, blah, blah. It's not about us relying on him. His physical load is not at this moment so high that he can play every third day, a game of 90 minutes. So I have to manage that together with him. So Erik Ten Hag is absolutely admitting Martial just can't be relied on from a 90-minute perspective. So he needs somebody else to come on. And that is where I can understand the logic here of signing Wout. He's not somebody who will be coming into Manchester United to start every game. I mean, probably not starting many or any. I mean, there may be certain games where we could really do with starting him, but not that many. Because stylistically, I don't think that is what Ten Hag wants at Manchester United. But as has been pointed out by quite a few of you in the comments there, you have to look at how Ten Hag adapted Ajax's style when they brought Sebastian Haller in, because any Ajax fans in the comments, you can argue that was more impressive, that group stage, wasn't it? I mean, Ajax at that point were absolutely dominant. I think the record was ridiculous in that group stage, wasn't it? I think it was. I'm going to go down here and read a few of your comments out. Francis, you've joined there as a member. Let me know where you're watching from, dude. I'll try and give you a shout out. Nick, you're saying profile-wise, he fits better than Memphis or Felix. Indeed, a pinch hitter with energy, length, and power. We need that type pronto. Moqueta, you're saying, is the 10 mil option an option or an obligation to buy? I believe it's an option. They're not obliged to buy him, I don't think. If I mean, he was doing well, right? What's he got? 9 goals in 18 appearances, I think, for Besiktas. Certainly enjoying it far more than he did in the Premier League, but that's kind of not too much of a surprise because Burnley hardly had the ball in the Premier League, as I said. So therefore, Wout was able and has been able to impact the game significantly more at Besiktas. He looks really durable. Imagine Ten Hag can turn him into a lethal forward. It'll be a coup for 10 mil. It won't be 10 mil. And the fees will simply be his wages until the end of the season, which aren't going to be significant. And there'll be a fee in there to pay Burnley for. In fact, there won't really be a fee because I think Burnley have already been paid for that loan fee at Besiktas. It will probably be the only fee is paying Besiktas off for allowing that contract to be terminated. That's what I think. So anyway, and yeah, he's only 30. He's and I'll be honest, he was pretty damn impressive at the World Cup. That goal aside, I mean, pretty damn impressive might be a little bit of a stretch. But he's clearly confident. He's clearly, right, it's the profile thing. And I'll be honest, man, I just trust Ten Hag. It might be a little bit naive of me to just say that. But if Ten Hag genuinely wants him and Ten Hag genuinely thinks that he can have an impact at Manchester United this season, then I absolutely trust Erik Ten Hag is correct. Because as he's shown with Eriksen and Malacia and Casemiro and Anthony and Martinez, he's been pretty damn spot on so far. Now, you can argue about, we can have debates about Anthony and about just other players too, about their impact so far. But Ten Hag has earned that trust from United fans, certainly far more than anybody inside that board, who all need to piss off. Ten Hag is signing players for the right reasons. And there's a little conversation I think we need to have as well of a story that broke yesterday about wages and Manchester United setting a salary cap, because it's all part of this process. There's a super chat there from Alex. How you doing, buddy? Already said it in members Telegram, but if he fires us to our first Premier League title this year, I'll give 50 memberships on the first. Mate, I'll give 50 memberships. I'll be throwing memberships out left, right, and centre if that happens. 54 Dunk, you're saying he'll be perfect for the games where we need a bullying force up front. Europa League is built for this. That's a really good point there about the Europa League. I hadn't thought about that. Would he be? No, I don't think you get cup tied. Besiktas in the Europa League. I think it changes in the knockouts. I think so. I'm not sure. Ultimately, that's the main driver, I suppose, between going after a player like him. He offers something completely and utterly different to what we have. And that's the main positive from a footballing perspective. But as Nick has been suggesting there, as I've been reading, I really think that it's the character of him as to why Manchester United and Ten Hag would be happy to bring him in. And it's the profile of him. Now, you might say that that's laughable, and there's going to be people going, oh, sir. There's somebody who tried to have a go at me yesterday on Twitter for saying that I would probably prefer United to sign Wout over João Felix. It's not that I would prefer to sign. If you were to give me one of the options and say you had to sign one, I'd have to really think about it before I gave an answer. But I can understand it. I can understand. I think there's logic to it. I think there's far more logic here with signing Wout Weghorst than there is to signing Memphis Depay. From a profile perspective, from an impact perspective between now and the end of the season. So much more logic here than there is with Memphis. That's what I think so anyway. A couple of super chats here. Let me read these out. Ten Hag wanted Timber and we ended up with Martinez. Wanted Frankie de Jong, ended up with Casemiro. Maybe if we end up with Weghorst, it will turn out to be beneficial. I'm so happy we ended up with Martinez and Casemiro. I'm so happy. Smooth Criminal, what are you saying? Whenever he made a move up, the Dutch media always said he wouldn't be good enough for that level. And he surprised us every single time. Mental beast. That's what I love. I do enjoy these live shows. And I'm big up to everybody who's offering a bit of insight from the Dutch perspective. We need people like that, man. And as I said, on paper, you can say, wow, what a downgrade that is. Ronaldo to Weghorst. But if the attitude doesn't match the talent, and it didn't with Ronaldo this season, therefore, that player doesn't help the team. Therefore, a player like Weghorst, I can understand it. I really can. And I'm really looking forward to doing some more research into him and doing a couple of videos in the next couple of days. And M, you're saying this: the diva era is over. The diva era, geez, a squad that fights for the badge, and it kind of falls in line with the story that broke yesterday about this salary cap. Let me just bring this up and we can have a little conversation about this because I think very much it ties into what you're saying there. Let me see. It was there. It was a Sunday Mail. That's the story there. Let me pull this one up. So this is coming from Joe Bernstein writing for the Mail on Sunday. And it was about a salary cap being introduced back at Manchester United. Now, full well, we all know that player power at our club has been the biggest issue. But Manchester United, according to here, I don't know whether he's making this up here, a Ronaldo rule. Manchester United would enforce a Ronaldo rule, limiting first-team salaries to a maximum of £200,000 a week, as Ten Hag attempts to avoid a culture of dressing room jealousy at United. United have introduced that new rule, and let's go down here and read it. Man United have introduced that new rule. Salaries will be capped at £200,000 a week, with goalkeeper David De Gea the first to be impacted. His £375,000 a week deal runs out in the summer, and he's been given a take-it-or-leave-it lower offer that is in line with Bruno Fernandes. I'll be completely honest and say this is necessary and also equally a little bit dangerous at the same time, and I'll explain that. It's necessary because I always refer back to it. In my opinion, I think the Alexis Sanchez deal was one of the most damaging deals that this club has done. If I'm looking at the worst transfers we've made past Fergie, I would put Alexis Sanchez down as the worst. Yeah, the only reason he signed and didn't go to City, where he would have won the league, the only reason he came to United was purely for money. And when he came in, he put his feet up. And that deal caused ripple effects and damage. Remember the Ander Herrera situation? He left quite soon after that because he wanted a little bit of parity compared to Alexis Sanchez. That didn't happen. He left. Yeah, good. Not. And I think that is something which kind of still reverberates through the club. And the Ronaldo situation, he was on £500,000 a week. And then the De Gea situation's on £375,000 a week. It's a problem. So I understand the logic here. And I think it's a good thing. However, it's something that will probably rule Manchester United out of signing a few players because we won't be able to match the wages. But at the same time, the Chicana there, Di Maria, Alexis Sanchez, there's a few terrible ones. For me personally, I'm probably gonna go Alexis Sanchez. I think the impact of it was far more lasting than the impact of Di Maria, and that's just a personal opinion. But it's the next step, I suppose, in the transformation of this culture at Manchester United. And I personally think that this could even deserve a video in itself. I'm going to let this develop a little bit more. Maybe hear Erik Ten Hag speaking about it. Maybe getting other articles, like Athletic and the Telegraph, wading in and they're supporting it. It's just coming from the Daily Mail at the moment. But I'm all for it. I'm all for all these cultural changes that Manchester United are doing under Erik Ten Hag. And as I said, if Erik Ten Hag thinks that Wout Weghorst is the right guy that can come in and make an impact between now and the end of the season, then I absolutely trust Erik Ten Hag. Chris, you're saying, look, he'll come in and score the winner in the derby. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Because, yeah, he's going to be that guy who comes off the bench for the last 20, 25 minutes to offer something different. Because if it works out well, right, hypothetical situation, he joins Manchester United and it works out brilliantly between now and the end of the season. What's he going to offer? He's going to be that guy. We can knock the ball long. He can hold it up. And then because we've got brilliant wingers, we've got Rashford in red hot form. We've got Anthony Anthony still needs to grow at Manchester United. He's far from the finished product, but with 4 goals in 9 starts, I think people are going slightly over the top with him. You've got Anthony on the right-hand side, Sancho when he comes back. You've got brilliant wingers. If Weghorst can be that guy to knock the ball up to him, chest it down, hold it up for 5 seconds, not even that, and then to feed it off to our wingers, that's where our threat is. That's where our danger is. He can then spin off his man and just go in the box. We don't necessarily have to just lump it into him, but the option's there. And I can understand it. I can understand it. Just because you pay loads for a player doesn't mean it's good, and vice versa. Of course, not at all. And look, we've had the era of, I suppose, sexy names, haven't we? We've gone through our Poundland Galacticos era where we signed Alexis Sanchez, we signed Paul Pogba, we signed Di Maria, we spent so much money badly. It's something that Ten Hag has said, because this club has signed an unimaginable amount of average players over the last few years. It's because the logic behind the transfers have been wrong. The reasons that we've signed a player have been wrong. And the reasons that a player is signed for United have been wrong. And that's where I understand, again, the logic of this. That's where I understand a little bit the logic of signing this lad. Shane, you're saying it means we'll attract the right type of players who actually only want to play for us. And that's a big thing, man. We've spoken about this as a community for a long time. Players who actually give a shit and want to play for United, they're the players who are going to drag you towards a title. They're the players who in those scrappy situations are going to get you out of those situations because they are fighting for it. And it's a big reason why I've got such a man crush on Lisandro Martinez. It's a big reason why that dude there has made such an impact in our team, because they genuinely are. They seem to be playing for a little bit more than just their wage packet at the end of the week, whether that's because they are driven by trophies and titles or because they love playing for United. I don't really care, because those two things can fall in line and complement each other. But they're not just playing for, as I said, they're not just playing for the wage pack at the end of the week. And it's making a difference at United. And it's something that we haven't seen in so long. Will there be performance wages, bonuses on? I don't know, but I'm presuming so. Tyler, you're saying the first time I have to disagree with one of Ten Hag's rules. Player power's poisoned our club from the inside out for so long. Something had to change. I think in the long term, this might be something that somewhat hampers us, given the way football's going, right? Given the fact that Chelsea were offering 85 million for Enzo Fernandez when he was 10 million in the summer. The finances involved in it are crazy. It's only going to get worse. So I imagine the overall concept of having like a 200k a week limit will hamper us somewhat. But also, if we manage to get everybody inside this current squad on that, there's a lot of good players inside this squad. I'm going to see how that one develops, right? As I said, this is a brand new story that's just breaking, and I'm not saying it's gospel at this particular moment in time. Smooth, what are you saying? I'll let you know. Ten Hag will not use him from the bench. With the wingers United have, you need a link-up player more than you need Martial. It's an interesting concept, but given how I've watched Manchester United play at their peak so far under Ten Hag, it is about fluidity. It is about a front three which can move and is dynamic. And if we're looking at how Man United played in the preseason, when Martial was fit, Sancho was fit, and Rashford was fit, they were chopping and changing, man. And that was when we saw the best from United. And also, the best performance that we've seen from United this season was Spurs, 2-0, where United really aggressively pressed from the front. And that is something that Weghorst can do and is good at. He does have an aggressive press in his game. He has got the intensity to his game. That's what I mean from a profile perspective, even from a tactical perspective. Just kind of makes a lot more sense than Memphis Depay does. Certainly for me. Now, let me see what the final, what is it? We've had nearly 2,000 votes. Look at that, man. Nearly 2,000 votes. Only 500 of you would like the video. Drop a like on the video now. Over 2,000 of you watching. Look, there'll be quite a lot of you that are new here to United People's TV. Welcome aboard. I'm live Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. with these live interactive shows. And I also do shorter, more informative research videos. So if you'd like to become part of the community, I'd love to have you on board. But how many? We've had 1,800 votes so far, and at a whopping 85%. I'm going to take a little screenshot of that. That's really surprised me. 85% of you would prefer Weghorst over Memphis Depay. I didn't expect the poll to be that split. I expected there to be a little bit of a majority for Weghorst, given that so many of us are stung by Memphis in his first period at United. I didn't expect it to be that blowing, that much of a gap. FP going down there, crosses from Shaw to... He's going to offer something completely different. If he does come in. And as I said, let me before I finish here, before I start waffling, let me run through the main story here for you It was broken yesterday from Santiwana, from Foot Mercato. The Manchester United were interested in signing him. It's been backed up by The Athletic, and the latest here from Turkey, which I suppose is the most important part here. This is the sporting director saying, look, if Man United or any other team wants him, they will meet with Burnley anyway, and Besiktas are expected to meet with his agent today. So I imagine, right, I imagine this is going to be a situation which develops pretty rapidly. Which photo? Let's go with that one. And I prefer situations like that, right? Remember the Tyrell Malacia deal last year? Like Leon had agreed a deal with Feyenoord. All of a sudden, Man United swooped in, stole it, done within like 24, 48 hours. Good, good, good. That's what you want. Fred, as I always say, never go back to your ex. Seriously, never go back to your ex. We're all stung by that. And if Memphis hadn't played for Manchester United before, I imagine that poll would have been very different. I imagine it wouldn't have been just a sweeping 85% for Weghorst, but it is. And I think it's interesting to see that. Now, I'm going to let this story develop across the course of the day. I went live this morning because it's moving quickly. And my gut is telling me it's going to move very quickly. So I imagine there's going to be updates coming later. If there is another update later, I'll be here and I'll bring it to you. I don't normally go live on a Sunday morning, but it's a transfer window and things and stories are developing fast. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. Big up to all of you who supported the community. Look, make sure you subscribe, as I say, if you're new. Tim, you're sending a super chat. Let me read that before we finish. If players all get 200 grand a week and accept it, it means they want to play for the club and not the money. I agree on that. But Tim, as I said, there is an overall concern about that because there will be other clubs all around us and the clubs that we are trying to compete with that might just be able to blow us out the water with wages and still get those players who want to play for their club as well. It's an interesting one. We'll see how that story develops. But Weghorst, Man United are in for him. He wants to move. He's already waved goodbye. Well, let's pull this one up here. He's already waved goodbye to Besiktas fans. Did this yesterday. Wait for it. Bye-bye. One more time. Bye-bye. One more time. Bye-bye. You don't need to, as I said, you don't need to be a body language expert to see that. And yet, look, Josh, I know you're right. 200 grand a week is ridiculous. It still is a ridiculous amount of money. But it's just the way football's gone, man. It is the way football's gone. Nick, you're saying, imagine being a centre-back and you know a 6'5" lad is going to battle and press for 90 minutes. It'll be a horror show. I wouldn't call that the dark arts of football. It's just yeah, I mean, I don't know how you defend against someone who's 6'6" and they have the intensity. I will bring you all the updates when they come. Thank you all for joining in. But Weghorst is not a name, I suppose, anybody thought we were going to have a conversation about. But it's looking, at this moment in time, like the most likely. And he wants it. Let's see how quickly the story develops. Take it easy. Have a good Sunday, everyone.